Jupiter has made its most impactful transit back into Capricorn. And so today we discuss the impact of that to the world. And of course, I make my predictions for all the 12 ascendants. Hello, everybody. I'm Tina Chaudhary. Welcome to my channel. And a very warm namaste. I make astrology simple so everybody understands it. On September 13th, Jupiter transited in a retrograde motion back into the sign of Capricorn. Now, since April 5th, it was in the sign of Aquarius. It started its retrograde motion on June 20th, and then finally, September 13th, it entered Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and who's sitting there? Saturn has already been sitting there for a long time. So when it entered Capricorn, it was met with Saturn over there. Now, there's a concept in astrology called Neech Bhang Yog. It's called Neech Bhang Yog. So one of the things you have to remember is that Jupiter is debilitated in Capricorn. I've said that in previous videos. So when Jupiter enters Capricorn, it's debilitated. It's in this worst house ever. So debilitated means that it doesn't have the power to give its benefic results because it's in the worst position of all the 12 houses. So Jupiter coming back into Capricorn would mean that it's debilitated and unable to give its benefic results. But there's a concept, like I said, in astrology of Neech Bhang. Neech means debilitated in this case, and Bhang means to cancel. So since Saturn is sitting in Capricorn and Saturn rules Capricorn, and if another planet comes into that sign, that's going to be debilitated in there. Saturn, because it's sitting there and ruling that house, will cancel the Neech Bhang. So it will cancel Jupiter's debilitation. So when Jupiter normally would have come into Capricorn, it would have been very debilitated and powerless to give us results. But because Saturn is sitting there, the ruler of the house is sitting there, it's canceling the debilitation of Jupiter, and hence Jupiter is now powerful enough to give us these results, the benefic results that it normally gives us. So this is a good thing. So Saturn is powerful because it's in its own house of Capricorn, and Jupiter comes in, and even though it's a debilitation house, its debilitation gets canceled by Saturn, and so it's powerful enough to give us its benefic results in Capricorn as well. Now, why is Capricorn such an important house for us? Capricorn is very important because it rules our career. It's the 10th house in the routine birth chart, not in everybody's birth chart, but it determines our profession, our career. So if you'll notice that in the last year and a half or longer than that, since Saturn and Jupiter have been kind of swaying, well, Saturn stayed in Capricorn and Jupiter's been in and out of Capricorn, a lot of us have had career issues. They could be good issues or they could be bad issues, but they've impacted our career in a lot of different ways. The whole world has had career matters going on very significantly in their lives. And the reason for that is that Saturn's been sitting in Capricorn, ruling the house of career. And Saturn is the ruler of our career. So Saturn's sitting there. Now Jupiter comes in also, and so it's going to have an impact on our careers as well. And Jupiter is a benefic planet, so Jupiter is going to have a good impact on our careers. So we're going to take a look at this. For some of you that may not know, I'm going to introduce a concept in Vedic astrology of vision or drishti. Now, the planets are given the vision or drishti of the house that's directly across from them. So if you count 7 houses from where the planet is placed, that will be the house that's directly across from it, and it impacts or has vision or drishti of the house that's directly across from them. So you would count 7 houses, and that's the planet or the house that would be directly across from them. But Jupiter is one of the planets that has been blessed with the 3 visions. So it has the vision or drishti of 3 houses, the 5th from it, 7th from it, and the 9th from it. So we're going to take a look at the planets and the houses and the planets placed in it right now, so we know which planets it will be affecting in its transit right now. So the first house that it's going to impact is Taurus. That's 5th from it, and Rahu's placed over there. And the 7th from it is going to be the house of Cancer. There's no planet in it right now, but Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is transiting every 2 1/4 days, so it's always going to be impacted by Jupiter. And the 7th or I'm sorry, the ninth from it is going to be the house of Virgo, and there's 3 planets placed in it. So it's Mercury in its own house, and then Mars, and then Sun's going to move into Virgo in the middle of September. So there's 3 planets going to be impacted. So there's five planets that are going to get impacted by this transit of Capricorn. So all of us are going to have a Mahadasha, Antardasha, Pratyantardasha of at least one of these 5 planets. So we're all going to get impacted by this transit of Jupiter in some way or the other. So just as a note, there's 2 other planets that were given special vision. So Saturn has 3 visions as well, and then Mars has 3 visions as well, but all the rest of the planets only have 1 that is across from it, which is the 7th from it. Now, the entire time that Jupiter is doing this transit, it's going to be in the nakshatra of Dhanishta, and Dhanishta is ruled by Mars. And we need to know that Saturn right now, while it's in Capricorn, is in a different nakshatra, even though it's in the same house. It's in the nakshatra of Shravan, and Shravan is ruled by Moon. So if you know, we're in this video, I'm only going to be talking about Jupiter. So let's talk about Jupiter and the fact that it's in Mars. So not only is it in the nakshatra of Mars, it's also looking at Mars, like I said, from in the 9th house from it. Mars is in Virgo. It's and Jupiter is looking straight at it. So we're going to have to put this together and make some predictions for the world, and especially for us all as well. So let's make some predictions for what we can expect to happen during this 66-day transit that Jupiter has in Capricorn. From a general prediction standpoint, one of the things that's very impactful right now is going to be the fact that Jupiter is in Dhanishta, ruled by Mars, looking at Mars. Now, when Mars is in Virgo, but the Sun's going to move into Virgo as well in the middle of September, Mars is going to be combust, which means the Sun's too close to Mars, so it's going to have too much, it's going to burn Mars. Mars goes behind the Sun, that's how it gets combust, so we can't see Mars. That's combusted up a planet, and also it becomes too much fire element. Jupiter is an air, it signifies the air element, so air and fire, and you fan the flame. So there could possibly be fire related activity that happens around the world. It could be anywhere around the world. Also land related disasters. Now, why land? Because Mars rules the land. Okay, it's the significator of the land, even though it's a fire sign. So land related disasters that could relate to fire activity. Okay, so that's a possibility. Also, because I said Saturn is in the nakshatra of Shravan, ruled by Moon. So and don't forget I said that Jupiter is also looking at Cancer, so a lot of water element, exaggerated water element activity is possible. So disasters and mishaps and a lot of water related activity is also signified. So not only fire but also water related activity could happen. Like we could get a lot of extra rainfall, there could be a lot of flooding, and there could be some water disasters as well. Now, I hope none of these predictions come true, really, even though I'd feel happy that as an astrologer my predictions are true, but for the world, general world happiness, I hope none of them are true. So, but generally this is what happens when the planets start to signify stuff like that. So land, fire related disasters, accidents, and water related disasters. Now, also because the Sun moves into Virgo and it's very close to Mars, and so one of the other significations, or one of the other predictions that could be made, is possibly that angry people and mob related activity. Now, many months ago I had predicted this during the solar eclipse, that there would be angry mob activity against the government, protests against the government, and that's when the Capitol Hill riot in the US broke out. So that one of my predictions was true. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen again, but there could just be anger against the government. I'm not saying there's anything like that going to happen. I hope not. But there's definitely anger against governments. It could be in any country. It doesn't have to be in the U.S. where I'm at, but it could be in any country or several countries. But anger against the government, protest against the government, anger, mob violence, and stuff like that. So Mars and Sun, when they get together, and then they're given the more fuel, fire by a planet that's looking at them, signifies that as well. So it's a 67-day transit, and we need to be a little careful of that. I'm going to move on to predictions. So I just want you to know that my predictions are based on the ascendant or your rising sign. So the sign that's in the first house, okay? If you're not aware of which ascendant you are or what your rising sign is, you can drop me a note in my comments with your date of birth, time of birth, and place of birth, and I'll let you know what your ascendant sign is, so you always know to listen to the correct prediction. If you're shy, you can send me an email and I'll let you know by email what your ascendant sign is. A lot of people do that, and of course I don't never charge for something so simple like that. I'll just let you know right away. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. I'm getting a lot of good activity. You guys have been great audience, so thank you very much for that. But if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe, and if you like the video, give it a like, and please do share it with friends and family. And now I move on to predictions. Aries. Aries, this transit is happening in your 10th house, and the 10th house signifies career status, social status, and definitely your profession. So you may see some changes in your profession, or there may be opportunities that present themselves in your career to make changes or other things. Think through them very hard. This is a retrograde Jupiter that's making these changes, so they may be good, they may be bad, but you really need to think about them before you follow up on and making changes. Also, don't make any loans to others or take on any loans. It's looking at your 6th houses of loans. Don't take on too much debt. Watch how much debt you take on at this time. Be very careful, not get sucked into the whole the debts issues. Also, you have to be very careful. It's looking at your 2nd house, and the 2nd house signifies the food you eat, and also the your communication. So communication is going to be very key. You need to make sure you're very personable, your communication is very positive, otherwise it can land you in trouble. And also, because it's also looking at the 2nd and the 6th house, you have to be very careful about what you eat, otherwise it will make you sick. So make sure you eat healthy, and you make sure you take good care of your health, because both those houses are being impacted right now. So make sure you're eating good, taking good care of your health. One of the remedies I can give you is to make sure you're doing a good physical regimen, an exercise regimen. If you're not already, do that, and it will keep you out of trouble and also improve your 6th house. So that's a good thing. It also gives you a good positive impact to your career. Taurus. This transit is happening in your 9th house. Now, in the 9th house signifies luck, destiny, learning, long distance travel, and your father, and of course guru and dharma. So as far as your career is concerned, you may see ups and downs in your career. You may see, where you're not able to make a decision for a long time. You may want to make changes and you don't, so that's what I mean by ups and downs. You're trying to make a decision and you're not able to. So this might continue for a while. Now, one of the significations is looking at the 3rd house. So the 3rd house means hard work, very hard work. So the 3rd house is asking you to make self-effort, hard work, and the gains to you will come after Jupiter moves into the 11th house, which will be after November, December. So make sure you don't give up the hard work that you're doing. And if you're not doing it, you need to start doing it. Make sure you're dedicated to the job or whatever it is that you do. And also the hard work you need to put into relationships. Otherwise, they may suffer, or they may not go as well as you think that you want them to go well. So the hard work for work and also for relationships, so they can keep going good, and you get the gains after December. This is a very good time for love relationships and marriage. So if somebody's looking to get hitched or committed in a relationship, this might make it happen. This is the transit that will make it happen. So this is a good time for love relationships, a good time for relationships with your kids also, and a good time for education, anything to do with education. If you're looking to get into learning something new, or going for a further education, or starting a course to learn something, this is a great time for that. Great time for students as well. So if you're a student, it's a good time for you guys. Make sure you work hard, and you will see the results of that. Take care of your father's health. Tell him you love him. Gemini. This transit is happening in your 8th house. The 8th house is not a favorite of astrologers, and the reason for that is because it signifies difficulty, obstacles, sudden changes, unexpected changes, and like I said, delays. So you might see some of those in your career related matters, finance, and also family issues. So until now, you were probably having a really good time, and because your ninth house was activated, now all of a sudden the eighth house gets activated, and you're all of a sudden everything comes to a screeching halt, maybe, and all of a sudden you're not happy. So this is one of the significations. I'll tell you the remedy. The eighth house signifies spiritual practice, mantras. So if you do a little bit of spiritual practice, you can get your happiness back. Now, one of the things I have to warn you is don't give out any loans, because you will not get them back at this time. Also, you may find that your domestic happiness is a little bit disturbed, but like I said, this is the eighth house transit. So again, spiritual practice, do some meditation. It's a good thing for you. But this is also the house of sudden events. So something suddenly could happen in your life. It could relate to anything. The eighth house is the house where things just happen out of nowhere. So be very, like I said, stay calm, cool, collected, and remember the divine. And also some spiritual practice would do wonders for you right now. But just keep your expectations down. That way you won't be too disappointed. Cancer, this transit is happening in your seventh house. The seventh house relates your marital relationships, marriage partner. Also, it represents your public image, or the way people see you. So this is going to be a good time for how people see you and how you interact with everybody and the public. So this is the seventh house also represents the public, and how you interact with the public and how the public sees you. So this is a good time for that. They may look up to you, and they may be impressed with you. So you may have a good impression on the public. The seventh house is, like I said, your relationship with your marriage partner also. Please try to stay very positive, very pleasant with your marriage partner, and you'll see that your relationship with your marriage partner may improve a lot if it had been suffering. If not, it will just get better. So it's a good time for both of those. It's a really good time for real estate transactions. If you're looking to get into that, it's a good time to buy or sell anything. So it's a good time for that. Also, you're going to find yourself working very hard at work and at home. So the workload that you'll have right now will increase a lot, because your third house is being impacted. So third house signifies hard work, like dedicated, hard, self-effort work. So you're going to find yourself working very, very hard at work, at home. But you know what? You'll be happy. It's a happy time for you. So you may have the energy to just make sure you do it all. So, but it's important for you to maintain the work-life balance. So the counsel I'm going to give Cancer people is to make sure you maintain a good work-life balance. So there's nobody that's out of balance. So that's you work hard at work, and then people at home get neglected. So make sure you're working hard. It's the third house, but your first house is also getting activated. Great public image, and you're also going to be happy. So when Jupiter looks at the first house, it gives you a lot of happiness. So happy, work hard, and make sure you maintain the work-life balance well, and you'll have a lot of good energy. The Jupiter does that to you. And also your relationships with your siblings might need a little attention, because it's the third house, siblings, so they might need attention as well. So now everybody needs attention from you, so make sure you don't neglect anybody. Leo, this transit is happening in your sixth house. Not usually, sixth house is not a favorite of the astrologers, because it signifies a few challenging things like sickness, like your health, loans. Also, it signifies not getting along with people, enemies. So it signifies that. But because Jupiter is looking at it, it may not be a bad thing. So if you were not feeling well before, you may feel the burst of energy, and you may feel like you're okay, you're doing okay, your health. But one of the things that I really do want to caution you is to make sure that you eat really well. Watch what you eat. Otherwise, it will make you sick, especially with your digestion. So making sure that you eat well and take care of your diet very well will make sure that you don't get sick. Otherwise, this is a time where your stomach could start having problems. So that's one of the cautions I'm giving my Leo people. If you're going to be in a competition, competitive tests, exams, all of those things, it's a great time for that, because you'll definitely fight over the enemies and win over the enemies, I should say. one of the other things is it's going to look at the 12th house. So the 12th house is a house of expenses. So your expenses are going to be very high, and the 6th house, like I said, is loans. So it's going to be an expensive time transit for you. So watch your expenses. Unless you want them to be high, then it's fine. But you need to watch your expenses because they might get a little out of hand and they might impact your relationship with your spouse. So make sure you watch your expenses very well and don't let them get out of hand. Don't buy things, luxurious items that you, I don't know, maybe can't afford or you don't want to, and you may regret spending later. So those are my only two cautions for my Leo people: is watch your spending, and also make sure you eat healthy. Otherwise, it can make you a little sick. So otherwise, it's a good transit. Virgo, transit is happening in your 5th house. Jupiter in your 5th house, it doesn't get much better than that, because Jupiter signifies the 5th house in the routine birth chart. So this is a happy time for you. And the happiness can come from various sources. Definitely your children can give you happiness, because the 5th house signifies children, and also love affairs. You may feel like you are your marital partner may give you happiness as well, and also you may be have a lot of good investment returns. So the 5th house signifies returns on investments as well, and stocks or you know, stuff like that. So you might see good returns on that as well. If you want to make decisions, you want to make changes to that, your stock portfolio or investment portfolio, this is a good time to do that as well. You'll see good returns on that. So the 5th house signifies that as well. This is a great time for expanding your social network or your friends or you know, social contacts. So make sure you reach out to people, talk to them, and try to expand your social network if that's what you're looking for. It's a good time for that. It's a great time for education. So if you want to learn something new, you're trying to get some you know, learn a new skill set or something like that, it's a wonderful time for education. It's a great time for students as well, because you know, they're in getting educated at this time. So the 5th house does signify education, so it's a great time for that. So Virgo ascendants, happiness all over, all around, and enjoy this time. Libra, this transit is happening in your 4th house. The 4th house signifies domestic happiness and domestic bliss within the 4 walls of your house, of your home. So make sure that you stay very patient and pleasant within the 4 walls of your house, because the 8th house is also getting worked up, and the 8th house signifies unexpected changes. It could be in career, which you may not like, or it could be your health also. So make sure you stay healthy, you take good care of your health, because the 12th house is also getting activated, and the 12th house signifies expenses. It signifies long distance travel, but it also signifies hospitalization. So when the 8th and the 12th come together, it could possibly mean hospitalization or taking good care of your health. So and also high expenses, so certain unexpected things that happen. So make sure you take good care of your health and watch your expenses very, very carefully, or they may get very out of hand. It's a very good time for real estate transactions if that's what you're looking to get into, and there may be certain career changes that may not be so good that you think of, or you know, for some people they may be good, but there's certain changes in your finance, career, or your health that may happen at this time. Make sure you take good care of yourself, make sure your communication is very personal, pleasant, and don't get angry with anybody and lose patience with anybody. Scorpio, this transit is taking place in your 3rd house. Now the 3rd house denotes hard work, self-effort, dedication, and general making very good efforts. So make sure that that's what you're doing right now, and as far as your work is concerned. In the past, you've had such a good time at your work in getting gains that you may get very lazy right now. So make sure that you keep your hard work going, and may your self-effort is up to par, and you don't fall behind, and take it easy right now. One of the other significations is 3rd house also signifies your siblings, and so make sure you have a very good relationship with your siblings as well. One of the traps that you may fall into is getting angry or losing patience with co-workers and also at home. So make sure you don't fall into that trap right now, and stay very patient with them, and don't start fights, because there's a tendency that you'll do that right now. Also, your network will grow right now. You'll put a lot of effort. Make sure you put a lot of effort into your network of not only friends but work associates, and this will give you really good gains in the next few future months. So make sure you grow your network well, and you stay good, patient at work, and make sure you nurture all the relationships at home and at work, and make sure you tell your parents that you love them, because both your parents, father and your mother houses are getting activated right now. So make sure you stay respectful to them. Tell them that you love them. This time is also a very good time for your children, so that your children may do really well, and you may have a very good relationship with your children. People that are involved in any education related matters or students will also do really well. Sagittarius, this transit is happening in your second house. The second house denotes wealth, your savings, finance, the food you eat, and your communication. So one of the things that you have to be really careful about is that you don't get too greedy when it comes to your work related. Make sure you're working with a good, honest heart, and for the benefit, for your own benefit, for career's benefit, but not just for money. Because if you get too greedy right now, it won't work out well for your career in the long run. So that's one of the things. The other thing is, you have to be very careful what you eat right now, because whatever you eat, if it doesn't work out for you, it might give you a very upset stomach. So make sure you take good care of what you're eating and have a very healthy diet. Also, communication. Now, if you have good communication, positive, upbeat, appropriate communication right now, it could do wonders for your career right now, because it's also impacting the 10th house, which is your career. So it could really do good for your career as well. It's impacting the 6th house. So the 6th house is your co-workers and your workplace. So all these things are very important at your workplace. So make sure your communication is extra good, positive with your co-workers at your workplace. Otherwise, it could end badly. So make sure that if you stay pleasant, in fact, you'll get good results. If you stay positive and you have good communication in the workplace, it could actually get you good things later. So this is the remedy that you have to do, right? It's an expensive time for you, also because your 2nd house and your 8th house are getting impacted. So it's an expensive time for you. So watch your expenses if you don't want them to get out of hand. Capricorn, this transit is happening in your 1st house. Now, generally, when Jupiter comes into your 1st house, which is your own house, the house of your own body, it's considered the sprinkling of Ganga Jal. Ganga Jal means the water from the Ganges or the Ganga River. And that's why it's considered the best blessing that you could ever get. So for Capricorn, it's the best transit. It's of all the ascendants. So you're getting like the sprinkling of Ganga Jal thrown on you, and you get the special blessing of Jupiter. So it's for your own body. It's very beneficial for you. It looks at the 5th, 7th, and the 9th house. So the 5th house is your children. Great relationship with your children. Good for your children. The 7th house is your house of marriage, your marital partner. So it's good for your marriage. It's also good for your spouse. So she'll or he will feel very happy. So this is good for them. It's good for their health as well. And the 9th house is the house of luck, dharma, religion. Now, how do you activate this Ganga Jal so you get the full benefit of it? Stay true to the Guru, stay true to the divine. Make sure you thank them every day in the morning. Get up and thank them for everything the Guru and the God has given, or whoever the divine that you believe in has given you. Make sure you thank them every morning, and you'll see how this benefic results will come onto you. You'll have a different kind of self-confidence. So when Jupiter comes into the 1st house, it gives you great energy, and it also gives you a sense of self-confidence and feeling positive. It gives you positive energy and a positive vibe. So you'll enjoy that. Now, in order to enjoy it fully, like I said, make sure you stay true to the divine. Thank you, the divine, for every day. Thank them every day for whatever it is that you have. And you'll see the magic change in your life. And this is the perfect time for Capricorns to do this. So, and make sure you remember during this time, Saturn is also there. So make sure there's no anger in you, and don't say anything bad to anybody. Stay calm, composed, and just pretend and behave as if the blessings have come to you from God and the divinity. And you will see that they will come. So they will activate. Aquarius, this transit is happening in your 12th house. So I know my poor Aquarians have just not had a good time with Saturn being in the 12th house. The 12th house signifies long distance travel. It also indicates some sickness, but above all, it indicates high expenses. And I always believe that it's not just monetary expenses that the 12th house indicates, it also indicates emotional spending, you know, where you feel like you've spent yourself emotionally. You're very exhausted emotionally is what I'm trying to say. So, you know, you might feel a little bit of that again. And the reason it's not a benefic influence as opposed to, even though Jupiter is there, is because your 8th house is very active right now in Virgo. So Virgo is your 8th house, and there's 3 planets, hot planets, sitting in your 8th house. So your 8th house is going to get activated. So some sudden events related to your health might arise. Also, sudden events related to your career and expenses, like I said, might arise. So take good care of your marital relationships and your health, happiness at home. Make sure you don't get into fights and arguments with anybody, and keep your temper in check and stay calm and controlled at all times. And watch your expenses. Watch your expenses right now. One of the cautions that I have to, for Aquarius is also, if you're thinking of doing any real estate transactions right now, this is not the time to do it. So just delay it for now, and don't do it at this time. Maybe a couple months later, it might be a better time. Pisces, this transit is happening in your 11th house. The 11th house is a good house. It's my favorite house. A lot of astrologers think it's not the best house, but I consider it a good house because it's the house of desire fulfillment, wish fulfillment, your social network, your friends. So also, you might feel like you're going out more, you're meeting people, and your network is improving right now, and your friendships are improving. And if there was some relationship issues in the past, you may feel like, oh look, they've improved. So your relationships with your friends and network circle might improve. In fact, you might get some benefits from them too. So if you've asked them for help or for any kind, you might get it now. So it's a good time for that. Also, your relationship with siblings, if you have older siblings, that might get improved also. And it also signifies the 3rd house. The 3rd house is younger siblings, so relationship with siblings might also improve. If it had suffered in the past, if you weren't doing so well with your siblings in the past, this is the time when it all of a sudden will improve now. Also, if you were having issues with marital relationships, time for improvement now. So this will be better for you now. This transit will make things better for you now. One of the things that is, because it signifies the 3rd house, it looks at the 3rd house. The 3rd house signifies hard work, dedicated work, self-effort. So don't shy away from that. This is going to be the key to getting all the benefits from Jupiter, is if you work hard, put all your dedication, hard work, self-effort, into what you do every day. And that's because, don't forget, Saturn is involved in the Jupiter transit also. So if you put that hard work in, you will get the benefits now. And if you were thinking of buying something like a business or starting something new, it's a great time for that. So but don't forget that hard work is always key when it comes to starting something new, because I believe Saturn always has a role to play in it. So that's good for that. You'll get very good benefits if you do that right now, because the 3rd house, like I said, 3rd house, 11th house, work hard, get gains. It's a simple logic, right? So if you do that, it's good. It's very good for children. It's very good for relationships with children, and it's good for your children as well. So it's a good transit overall. Make sure you get good benefits from it. And this brings me to the end of my predictions. Everybody, please stay safe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Goodbye for now.